What's up, world? It's me, Mike Muse. I intersect politics and pop culture. I get people to see policy through lifestyle, through sports, music, film, fashion, and technology. I host a show here, the Mike Muse Show here at SiriusXM. Also, I'm an ABC special contributor. You know, I believe as a society, we put so much pressure on finding your passion. I've always been a big believer instead of following your curiosity. And it's through following my curiosity that I was able to really discover this intersection of politics and pop culture. I did that in a couple of different ways. I started out in the music business. I had a co-founded a record label, Muse Recordings, and then I went on to be a part of President Obama. But I started with him when he was Senator Obama running for president in 2007. And what I realized I was doing was I was leveraging both aspects of it. I was leveraging the pop culture to give the political space and conversation and messaging a place for amplification and to make it cool and to popularize it, if you will. And then I realized I was leveraging pop culture to really help amplify the messaging. And I said, you know what? I woke up one morning and said, I'm actually intersecting these two worlds. And that's what drove me to figure out how can I do more of a deep dive into this intersection. And true enough, that is what gets me up every day. That is now my passion. And so for all of you out there that's watching, you too can find your passion a little bit later in life. You don't have to wait till you're 13. So that's how I found it. Music, pop culture, media, politics, they're all intersectional. It really just starts out with narratives. It really starts out with stories of people and really getting to connect the dots between people and stories and change. When you look at the landscape of film, it's telling a story. It's telling stories that we may have never heard. And it's also, too, it gives us the ability to see ourselves on the film and see our life experiences through that journey. When you look at the medium of art, art is really this representation of what's happening in social classes and communities and in cultures, and allows you to experience it when you're looking one-on-one with that painting to ask questions to yourselves. And it really holds up a mirror to society. And particularly when you look at music, particularly look at hip-hop. Hip-hop has got its origins off the stories of marginalized communities and marginalized people to really begin to tell a story and to find an outlet and to really bring amplification on some of the issues that were happening in the communities, just as the way film does, just as the way as art does. And that is the whole nature of politics. People represent districts in order to tell the stories of their constituencies and their people in that area to help amplify and to help make change. And so really when you look at the granular level, it's just people, it's narratives, it's stories for amplification, for change. And that's really how they work hand in hand. They really share a very symbiotic relationship. And really, when you think about it, every policy discussion has a touch point with lifestyle. And that's why it's important for me to do the work that I do, to really show and educate our democracy and individuals to participate in our democracy that, listen, you have a stake in this too. You are just as equal a part of the national conversation as those who are sitting in DC, and to really for us to even actually own that narrative so that individuals in DC don't determine the sweatshirts that we rock, don't determine the jewelry that we have, but that we have a voice in that. Because why? There's a policy associated with the sweater that I'm rocking right now. There's also a policy associated with the watch that I'm wearing. And so that's why it's important for me to have this intersection and to amplify it the way that I do. Some of the game changers currently are happening right now for me that I look at is LeBron James. I think he has a really interesting place in our society. On my platforms, and I've always speak about this notion of qualifying and being qualified to speak on politics. We in the political class has done a disservice to our communities. We've done a disservice to America to believe that you have to be a political science major to talk about politics, that you have to be a lawyer at a white glove firm in order to discuss political narratives, that you have to work at some Wall Street bank in order to talk about finance and the political aspect and spectrum. But it's my belief that we have to get rid of that notion that you have to be qualified and that you yourself can talk about it from whatever angle, from whatever position and things that you're interested in. And that's really is our true democracy. For so long, we've seen our democracy almost held hostage by those of the elite class, by those of the political class, by those of the educated and the educational classes. And I think that's how we got into the trouble that we're in now. But we're seeing now the disruption. conversation. We're seeing more people getting involved and engage in that, and LeBron James has been very pivotal in that. As an athlete, we just expect, what's that term, to shut up and dribble, but what we're seeing now is that he said, no, I have a voice, I have an opinion, and I can say however I want and make it look like however I want. And so he is someone who I define as being really disruptive to that narrative of not being qualified. Another individual who's causing great disruption of not being qualified and not waiting your turn is Ryan Coogler. We saw the epic tale coming up of Black Panther. That was only Ryan Coogler's third film. So you mean to tell me you did Fruitvale Station, you go on to do Creed, and all of a sudden your hand did $100 million budget of a film, and then it goes on to gross and be game-changing in Hollywood, but also disrupted the nature that Black films and Black narratives and Black leads don't do well globally. Well, he shattered that box office, and I think there's something to be said about that moment, to accept the responsibility and say, I don't have to wait my turn. I don't have to wait 5 films in, 10 films in, to be able to man the helm of a $100 million budget film. And I think those are some of the disruptors that I think about. Beyonce, of course, she is absolutely killing the game in terms of, it's almost when she speaks, things move, right? And I think she owns the responsibility of it, and she's really mindful of that narrative. And of course, my favorite, President Obama, the way he entered the political spectrum and political space, he has given permission for others to enter this space too as well, and it almost gives them validation in this space that I too can be a difference and a change maker, and I too can make a difference. Yeah, so I got involved with President Obama's campaign in 2007 as a fundraiser. And I have to be honest with you, I had never fundraised a day in my life. I didn't think that I could fundraise. I didn't think I knew enough people. And matter of fact, people told me, like, you'll never raise $1 million. You don't know enough people. You're not qualified. You haven't been brought into these right circles, right? You haven't been sponsored into these circles. And I said, you know what? I want to prove them wrong, because for me, I believed in the vision of who President Obama was and is. I believed in his ability to really create change and to really bring about a narrative and a national discourse that we had never seen before. And I gotta be honest, I didn't even know he could win. But there's something about doubling down on authenticity, doubling down on your identity, and then really doubling down on things that matters most to you and what you value. And it's because I value those things that he represented that I was able to work as hard as I did in order to raise money for him, to which I became, we believe the record states, I'm one of the youngest to have raised over $1 million for a presidential candidate. I did that at age 32. And so there was something really exciting about that and really special. And I really got a chance to learn about our democracy from a very intimate level, from a very intimate space. And I really got a chance to see how policy shifts and changes and narratives, and really got brought in to the fold of the political aspect of our democracy. And it was such a lesson, if you will, that I couldn't even have never paid for if I ever went to a 4-year institution or went and got my doctoral degree. It was just something that will always be with me, but it's also too as a result of being with him and being associated with him for the 8 years of administration, the responsibility that comes with it, the responsibility to teach, the responsibility to amplify, and to really take all those lessons that I learned, understanding how policy is made, how policy is structured, how narratives are created politically, to take it back to the communities, to take it back to demographics, to take it back to my friends and say, this is how it works, let me teach you. Which is the reason why it's so important for me to have this platform that I do here at SiriusXM Radio, and to have the platform that I do at ABC, is really help amplify and to educate and to teach. The legacy I want to leave is this notion for those coming behind me that you don't have to wait your turn. You don't have to be qualified. You don't have to be brought in. Just stick to your authenticity, follow curiosity, and go for it. And there will be many people along your journey that will tell you no from a myriad of different ways and reasons and why. But I hope that one day someone coming from behind me, from Lansing, Michigan, moving in their car to New York City, will think about my story and think about Mike Muse did not wait his turn. He did not wait for permission. He did not wait to be sponsored. He went against the grain and he followed his curiosity. And I think that is something that I hope to leave behind. I am Mike Muse, and I am a game changer.